So let's get to our final topic. And we've kind of been talking about this throughout the show, but we haven't touched on it. And so what I think we've all agreed with is that between the three of us, we like Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, and Mac Jones. I think those are our three quarterbacks that we like after Trevor Lawrence. I know I feel that way. I would rank them Fields, Wilson kind of in the same tier, and then Jones. I think Akash, you go Fields, Jones, Wilson. And then Blake, I know you have Wilson first.
Yeah, I got Wilson.
I don't know how you rank Fields and Jones yet, but so let's get into this. Let's say the Niners are in a scenario where they can trade up, and let's say this Jets stick with Sam Darnold. Who would be the better scheme fit for the 49ers, Justin Fields or Zach Wilson?
You can go first on this one, Akash.
Just schematically, if I was just to take player X and just plug them right into Kyle Shanahan, I would say Zach Wilson, just because he ran the concepts at BYU that I see Kyle Shanahan run with Jimmy Garoppolo and his other quarterbacks. Like, the fit is just seamless. Like, they run wide zone, they run stuff off of play action, they run like flood, and just some basic concepts that you see Kyle Shanahan run. So that's why, like, when I see it, I'm like, okay, I can see the fit. But if you just remove the fit part of it and you look at ceiling, then you look at the other things that the quarterback brings to the table, that's where I lean Justin Fields, where I think Fields, while the fit may not be seamless and Kyle Shanahan may have to do a little bit of tinkering with his offense to try to, get Justin Fields more comfortable, I like that just aspect better, just because I think Fields is talent, raw talent. His physical abilities are greater than Zach Wilson. He's, had more tape on display. Now he's had 2 seasons in the Big Ten, and I just like Justin Fields better. I don't know. It's hard to describe when you just watch these two guys back to back in these games. And I watched like 6 Justin Fields games. I just like Fields better as a player. And honestly, I like Mac Jones better there, even though the ceiling not be as high as Wilson's. But if you were Fields or Wilson, gun to my head, I'd go Justin Fields.
Blake, I think I know who you're going to say, but let's hear why.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of touched on it a little bit already with Wilson. I think his play. I know we've talked about this, Vish, but the Niners have kind of had some statues back there, not as athletic. Having either Fields or Wilson would actually just be a treat to watch in a Shanahan system, with being able to get them out of the pocket more. And I think Wilson outside of the pocket is probably more dangerous. Just his throws on the run are just, I don't know, man. They're insane to me. Like, I hate to bring up like the Mahomes and Rodgers things, but there is like that sort of element of magic that when he gets out of the pocket, you just don't know what's going to happen. That I really do like a lot. Now, I don't think he'll be as good as those guys. Like, no chance. Those guys are just insane, but he has that outside of the pocket ability that his eyes are always down the field and he's looking, okay, like, I'm going to get this 50-yard bomb. And he's not looking to scramble first.
I do.
Oh, gosh. But yeah, I don't know, man. Wilson, I think he'd be just really, really good. But again, getting him would be tough.
I will say Wilson has the more highlight-worthy plays. So if I would give you a highlight reel of Zach Wilson and Justin Fields, Zach Wilson would have like the better highlight reel because he just has these crazy off-platform plays where he's like arm angles are funky and he jacks Milne like down the sideline like 45 yards, like especially like against Boise State, he had some crazy plays on that grass. And Justin Fields is more, of a true pocket quarterback. It feels like weird to say, because he's mobile. I think he's going to run like a 4.3, 4.4, but he tends to sit in the pocket longer than you'd like sometimes because he's working through his progression. He's waiting for something to open up. But he's also capable of extending plays. So you see less of the off-platform, off-schedule stuff from Fields. But I think just what he does from the pocket is more consistent and his process is better than Wilson's, I would say. That's why.
Before you go, Vish, I did want to say, like, Fields is insane out of the pocket too. Like, if he gets going downhill, this dude's like, dare I say, Cam Newton-like.
Feels right.
He's probably faster, maybe not as big, and maybe not going to run over people as much, but he can make plays out of the pocket, and he is, like you guys mentioned, like just super tough. We saw those injuries he had. I think it was the championship game, and he looked like he was in serious pain. I mean, he got hit pretty hard in the ribs on the side of his body, and he came back in, still, finished the game. He's tough.
Yeah, so I think they both fit schematically, but I think they both fit in different versions of the Shanahan offense. And so there's a lot of iterations of it now in the NFL. I think like 10 or 12 are running the scheme. So I think Zach Wilson fits in the Packers kind of world of the Shanahan offense, what Aaron Rodgers is doing, a lot of pre-snap alerts. Zach Wilson had a lot of alerts at BYU where pre-snap he could pick a side he was going to go to with the football. He was really good at it actually pre-snap. You didn't see as much post-snap maybe reads based on rotations and stuff, but you saw a really good pre-snap process that allowed him to choose matchup based where he wanted to go with the ball. A lot of RPOs, a lot of stuff in the quick game because he's got a really, really quick release. It's lightning, and he gets it out there fast with a lot of pace from any platform. So I think he fits from that standpoint. I don't think Justin Fields is a particular fit for that offense. He has a little longer delivery. He's got a little slower release. But I think where Justin Fields fits is kind of in the Tennessee version of the offense where it's run, play action, throw the ball down the field. And it's not short. You're looking to push the ball down the field. I think Justin Fields is the most accurate down the field thrower in this draft. I think he's very tough and he's willing to stand in the pocket. And he's got a little Ryan Tannehill meets Cam Newton meets Russell Wilson to his game. And I think that his motion is reminiscent of Wilson and his deep ball. His play style is kind of Tannehill-esque, and his body and running ability is Cam Newton. So I think the offense would be like where you have the RG3 run game stuff, but the offense in reality is 21 personnel, 12 personnel, 11 personnel, run, play action, and you're looking to push the ball down the field, and it's a lot of two-man routes, a lot of three-man routes, and Justin Fields is just ripping crossers, ripping deep posts, ripping 9 routes, and I think that's where they would both fit. Gun to my head, who I think would be the better fit for the 49ers, it would be Justin Fields. And that's because I think Justin Fields, if I talked about it, right, 12 personnel, 21 personnel, Niners just signed Kyle Juszczyk. If you're looking to sign Kyle Juszczyk, that means you're going to be a run-first offense first, and that means you got to go run game, play action, and throw the ball down the field, and that's where I think Justin Fields is the better fit of the two. Though I think both would be great fits. I love both as prospects. I would be ecstatic with both, but yeah, that's where I stand.
Yeah, no, agreed. I wouldn't complain with either, but at the highest level, when we're at the spot, we're going to nitpick every little thing when it comes to these two guys. And yeah, I think you're right. When it comes to Fields, his accuracy, I think Derek Clausen charted it. And I think he was the most accurate quarterback, that he's charted since 2016. Yeah, he feels like a more accurate Cam Newton to me. I mean, not the same size, obviously. I think Newton's like 6'5", this guy's like 6'3". But that's what I think of when I watch him play. And I think in most drafts, he'd probably be number 1, number 2. But this is just such a good quarterback class. He's being nitpicked, especially because of those few games in 2020 where his stats didn't look particularly good. But I went back and watched those, the Northwestern, Indiana games specifically, and he wasn't particularly bad. I mean, he had some bad plays for sure, but his offensive line didn't protect particularly well. I thought Ryan Day wasn't really helping him out. And, it is what it is, but I would be ecstatic with either one of these guys.
Yeah, I didn't think the Northwestern game was particularly that bad. I think Ohio State has very rarely seen split safety coverage in their time in the Big Ten because of their run game, and they struggled to do anything for split safety coverage. The Indiana game, you can't really excuse it. It was rough, but I think a guy is –
you're allowed to have a clunker.
Right? Yeah, okay, sorry, he can't play every game at the perfectly high level. I think too many people are nitpicking on that. Blake, so you're kind of on the lone horse here with the Zach Wilson. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything more to add here? Or
I did have a question for you guys. So where do you think the Niners would have to trade up to get Fields? Because in my eyes, obviously not top 2. I don't think the Dolphins will go quarterback. The Falcons restructured Matt Ryan, pushing more cap to future years, so it doesn't make logical sense that they would obviously just get a quarterback and then cut him and have a bunch of dead cap. 5, the Bengals, they have Burrow. Where do you think they'd have to trade up? Because the Panthers and the Broncos seem like the biggest threats to getting a quarterback, getting the third guy, in my eyes at least. Where do you think, or where would you be comfortable with them trading up for that?
4 to 7 is where I would say, because the Panthers pick at 8. Anything 4 to 7, I think, is a possibility. And I don't think we talked about this actually earlier today, Akash. I don't think the value chart in terms of 4 to 7 is terrible in terms of what they would have to give up.
Yeah, so selfishly, I've kind of rooted for Deshaun Watson to end up in Carolina. I mean, yes, you'd like for Deshaun Watson to come to San Francisco, whatever. I just don't think they have the assets. And I think you just look at David Tepper, aggressive guy in business. He now is extremely aggressive with the Panthers. So I feel like if the whole Watson situation clears up, whatever happens, he's available for trade again by the draft. And if Carolina ends up with Deshaun Watson, all of a sudden I think you could see Justin Fields somewhere in that 4 to 10 range, and maybe even slide to the Niners. My guess is some other team could potentially trade up for him at that spot, but Justin Fields would be the guy that slides, I think, in that scenario. But if the Carolina Panthers don't trade for Watson, then I think the Niners would have to get ahead of Carolina. And you never want to be the team where, say, like the Niners trade up to 5, and then the Panthers then leapfrog them and go get Justin Fields. So you want to always trade up to the maximum spot, if that makes sense, which would be 3 in this case. But that won't be determined, I think, at least until the week of the draft, with all these pro days that are still left over the next month. So yeah. But I think somewhere between 3 and 7.
Yeah, and all the go ahead, my bad.
I was gonna say, because if let's say that at 8 the Panthers do get Watson or something, or Watson, the Panthers don't need a quarterback for whatever reason, I would be surprised if he slipped past honestly 6 or 7, because there's other teams that around them. Maybe the Patriots want to get a quarterback, even though they have Cam. There's still definitely a need there. I still think there's teams in that middle round, or not middle round, but mid of the draft, that they could definitely trade up and leapfrog the Niners. So they would have to trade. Obviously, they're not going to trade before the draft starts. I think they would trade and then select him at when the pick is up. But no, it's definitely an interesting thought, where they would have to go.
Yeah, the only move pre-draft I think would be get to 3, because Jets and Jags are probably quarterback. Mm-hmm. So if something happens pre-draft, it's the Niners getting to 3. I doubt they'd go to 7 before the draft.
Oh, yeah.
The move would be during the draft, like you mentioned, because what the order is and who's falling and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So secretly, I'm kind of hoping they don't go up to 3, honestly. And just because I'm a little superstitious, so I'm going to put a little superstition out on this video before we end it and maybe take some questions. So typically when quarterbacks go 1-2, I feel like the guy that goes second always fails. Manning, Ryan Leaf, except the only example I can see is Tim Couch, Donovan McNabb, and I'm going to get to that example in a second. But, Manning, Ryan Leaf, Luck, RG3, Mariota, Winston, all these guys, it just scares me, just because the president feels like one of those 2 guys always fails, and it's usually not the one. And then the other thing is I wanted to say was 1, 2, 3 also scares me. So I'm hoping they don't go Fields at 3, just because the one example that comes to the top of my head, and it's totally different. This has nothing to do with the success of the players, just me being superstitious. I do need to preface my statement with that. But if you're thinking Tim Couch, McNabb, Achilles Smith was a giant bust. Tim Couch was a giant bust. McNabb wasn't. So from that standpoint, quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3 kind of scares me, because this does have a little bit of the 99 draft vibe from it, where there are 5 viable first-round quarterbacks. In that draft, Cade McNown, Dante Culpepper, Donovan McNabb, Achilles Smith, and Tim Couch. So there is a little bit of that going on here. We'll see, but honestly, from that standpoint, and then the point you brought up about Deshaun, I think Dave Tepper, no matter what, I think the Carolina Panthers are going to get their guy this offseason. Whether that guy is Justin Fields, whether that guy is Mac Jones, whether that guy is Deshaun Watson, it's going to happen. Dave Tepper kind of reminds me of when Steve Ballmer came and took over the
Clippers.
Los Angeles Clippers, and he just came in aggressive, had to get Kawhi Leonard in free agency, was ready to spend money on everything. That's what the Panthers feel like at the moment. But that's what I see happening. We'll see what happens, but that's just my little superstition to it.